Okay, so I've got a short handrail to make. It's about 2.6 metres. I've got this bit of half round handrail section. A bit rusty, but we'll clean that up. And I've got to put a couple of curly bits on the end, so not pissing about trying to get 2.6 metres in the fire, just cut the ends off. I'll put the curly bits on these and then just weld them back together. Don't want to make life difficult for myself. And these are the brackets that I'm going to put on the wall. Just simple, cut out with a hole cutter. I'm just going to put a little bit of decoration around them. I was going to try and use a fancy shape, but they don't look right when it's going up a slope. So the only thing that does is a circle. So anyway, let's get these in the fire and see if we can put some curly bits on the end. Nothing fancy. It's very plain. It's going in an old lady's house. She'll love me for saying she's an old lady, but anyway, she is getting on a little bit, but she just needs a little bit of help coming down the stairs. So we're just going to do this for her. Bigger hammer. First thing I'm going to do is just literally flatten it down, make it sort of tapered down at the end. I'm not drawing it out into a point or anything like that and doing anything fancy. I'm literally just putting a curl on it. Take off the corners. Unfortunately, my camera doesn't seem to be focusing on the job. I don't quite know why that is. You'll get a different view of it in a minute. And what I'm trying to achieve is make the toe end of it the same thickness as the sides, because these handrail, if you're not familiar with it, the handrail is slightly domed, so it's higher at the top than it is at the sides. I'll get a better look here. This is the second one. Take off the corners, flatten it down a bit. This is going in, it's a fairly modern build, but it's got a very cottagey feel inside, the way it's been decorated and the style of it. So I don't want anything too fancy. I think just a straight pole would have done, but she liked the idea of this half round. I've made her a rail outside in her garden of this stuff, and I think she quite likes it. So there you can sort of see it's just flattened it down and rounded it off so that it's sort of uniform. Just tidy it up with my little hammer. Take as many of the hammer marks out as possible before I give it a quick rasp up. Again, this is number 2. There you go, that's the idea, nothing fancy. So we're just going to give her a little bit of a rasp up. This takes me back to my shoemaking days. We used to rasp up all the heels of the shoes when we were making them. Exactly the same sort of action. Alright, that's a bit better. By the time we've given that a bit of a wire brush, that'll come up nice. Just do the same with the other one. Set me broom alight. Oops. Right, that's got those two bits done. Get on with a bit of curling. I'm just going to use the rounded edge of the anvil. Most anvils have a rounded sort of 6 inches or so at one end. Try not to put too many more dents in it. So I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible with as few hits. And that's getting there, we're not far off. As I say, I don't want to do anything too fancy, just purely functional and fairly aesthetically pleasing. I think that's about it really for that one. Yeah, see, that's quite nice. I like that one. It's very simple. Make sure it's all square. And this is the second one. So I'm sort of more of a glancing blows I'm using than direct hitting, which helps with reducing the hammer marks as much as possible. And this one's not going quite as well. This one's coming up a bit tight. I can see it from the word go, but I'm just going to make it and then open it up a bit. Yeah, definitely too tight, that one. See if I can open it up. I'm sorry, I didn't realise that it was almost out of shot. I'm just trying to ease it open a little bit. It's come up a bit pinched. It's better. Probably leave it at that. I don't want to start mucking about. So, the discs. Get them in, and I'm literally just going to put some decoration around the edge. As I say, I had toyed with the idea of square ones, oblong ones, ones with bits cut out. But then, as I say, they wouldn't look right going up at an angle, and because I didn't know the angle of the wall precisely, I thought the only sensible ones that would look okay at any angle is going to be circular ones. But I didn't want them too plain, so I'm just putting this little bit of decoration around the edge. See how quickly it gets cold. It's still enough heat to do a bit, but it's getting very cold very quickly. And if you can see that, I'll give you a better look in a minute. I've got them all in the fire, so really they should all be heating up fairly quickly. Now, this is it's just a cross pane hammer that's got the cross the opposite way. I don't know what it would have been originally used for, but it's perfect for this sort of job. Let's get the job done. All done by eye. There's no measurements. You know, I haven't put any marks on it. It's literally all done by eye. I've used this technique on lots of things. it's quite effective, especially on bigger stuff. I think that's the last one. The camera will focus, you'll get an idea of, there you go, just makes it look a little bit nicer, a little bit more interest than just a plain disc. I'm just going to give them a quick clean up before I mark them to drill them. These magnets are brilliant for doing jobs like this. I use them a lot, and they're adjustable. You can adjust them to virtually any angle, and they're blooming strong for what they are. They were something cheap from Aldi or Lidl or somewhere like that, about 10 quid for 2 of them. Right, I'm going to mark my holes with my tri-square, just lining up the holes in the centre with the hole on the tri-square, and I'm just literally by eye marking the middle. I don't have to be 100% accurate, but this is damn sight easier than trying to guess it. Just see there. Dead handy bit of kit if you're making anything with 3 legs or 3 arms, or want 3 holes or whatever. It's very useful. I don't know if 3 brackets is a bit of overkill, but I'd rather it was sturdy. I'm just going to mark the distance with my odd legs. That's where my holes are going. Right, let's go and drill them. I might put some more decoration on there, but I don't know. Now, unfortunately, I forgot to put the camera on when I was drilling them, but I've drilled them, drilled out the centre hole, just under, put a countersink on the back, just under the 10mm, something like 9.8, because I want these to be a tight fit in that hole. And again, I neglected to show you bending up these bits of bar, but they're just bent round a bit of inch pipe, just so there's a radius rather than a tight square bend. Now I'm doing them this way because it just looks nicer, especially in a domestic setting. You know, it's alright if it's out on the street somewhere or in someone's garden, but in someone's house where it's going to be seen much more, it's much nicer to have the welds on the back, so you haven't got any ugly welds showing. I'm just touching the hole up so that it's a nice tight fit. Nothing worse than putting a 10mm drill through and then finding your 10mm bar isn't actually 10mm and you've got unsightly gaps around it. Just levelling these up, getting the holes orientated properly. Levelling up the arm. Grind off the excess. Done. Nice and clean. No ugly weld. There's a little tip for you. So I'm just going to clean this up before I weld it all together. It'll be easier to do than once it's welded. Just got the wire brush on the angle grinder. Get the worst of it off. It's been sitting on the shelf for quite some time, that bit. I actually quite like it when it's gone rusty or been rusty, because once you've got the rust off, the majority of the mill scale's gone as well, so you haven't got that to worry about. Anything peeling off once it's painted or coated. I'm just going to do the same with these bits. There we go, come up quite nice, that. Just that little bit of prep with the rasp and then the wire brush really gives a nice finish. The wire brush takes out any real imperfections. It's not ideal if you want sharp, real sharp edges, because it softens the edges, which on a lot of stuff I like, this type of work. But if you're doing something that wants real sharp edges, this isn't the way to go. Alright, so now we've got to cut the main bit down to length. This was slightly long. I've got to cut about a foot or so off it to get me down to the 2.6 metres that we want. I love this saw. Cracking bit of kit. Alright. So I'm just going to put some heavy bevels on the end. We want to get plenty of welding. Although they're not going to be taking a lot of weight or anything, I want them to be strong, and I want to be able to blend the weld back in, so we make sure we get plenty on. I've already done the short bits. And now what I need is a big lump of angle iron and some clamps. Clamps, angle iron. That's a nice heavy bit. It's a bit of quarter, so it's fairly strong and straight. Just clamp it all to the angle. a very useful tool, these hand clamps that Bessie grips. Just making sure it's all lined up. Give it a little tap. Right. Let's glue it together. Now, because I put a big bevel on there, one run isn't enough to fill it, so I'll just put like a root run in, and then we'll put plenty over once I've done the back. Making sure there's plenty on the sides, because again I want to blend them back in. If you haven't got enough, you end up eating into the sort of parent material, and you end up with dips and unsightly craters and things. So you want to make sure you're not undercutting when you're welding. Just doing the same on this end. Now I'm going to, before I grind off those, I'm going to mark where I'm going to drill for the brackets, because again I'm going to drill it, weld them from the back or from the top. So again, you've got nothing underneath, no welds underneath. So again, it's nice and smooth. If people run their hands under it, they're not going to feel any weld, and it just looks nicer. It might take a little bit longer, but going from there, welding from there, smooth it all off. Bob's your uncle. So let's get them when you're blending this in, concentrate first on the weld. Try not to get on any of the parent metal either side of it, not until the very last knockings, when you've got your centre part or your weld barely flat, using sort of the toe of the disc, and then once it's the weld's down, drop your disc down flatter, which means you're using more of the disc, you're not gouging. And then go either side quite a bit, and it just smooths out any little imperfections. As I say, do the same with the sides, get them nice and flush, and obviously the same on the back. Concentrate on the weld with the toe of the grinder or disc. And once it's down, flatten it. You can see where I'm dropping the grinder down to use more of the disc. That's it, virtually invisible. Your average Joe will never see it. We're still going to do a little bit more finishing on that at the end, but we're going to just drill them first. So again, I'm going to just piloting them now, but I'm going to put the 9.8, whatever it is, drill in and file them out again so that they're nice and tight. Don't want any slop. I love having this new workshop where I can actually move things around without smacking the ceiling or the walls or other bits of equipment. Well, having said that, I've really started to fill it up a bit. Right, let's put me 9.8 in. Change gear. Countersink. Again, a nice decent sized countersink. You can get plenty of weld in there. There's no chance of it working loose. Pucker. Right. Stick the vise in. Tighten her up. Yeah, just needs a little touch with my rat's tail. Don't think it's going to need masses out of it, but a little bit more than it did on the plates, because obviously this is much thicker. Yeah, look at that, a little bit, a little touch more. Lovely job. Good tight fit. Lovely, flush. Nice, yeah, just the other two to do now then. Done. So now I've got to jig it up to make sure they're all square. I'll put a clamp on that one, that side of the bench. And I've got a clamp on that one, that side of the bench. So that's the middle one and the end. So that's make sure they're square. We're going to get some weld on them. Again, plenty of weld, no undercut. So that we've got something to grind back. Go over and do the other one. bloody clips got caught on the hose. And we turn it round and do the same to the other side. Clamp the middle one on the bench and weld the other end one. So, I go and put the one on the other side. Away we go. Super. Vice out again. Same thing, just concentrate on the weld. Once that's flush, drop your hands and flatten it. There, you can see I've dropped my hand and using the flat of the disc now. Just let you have a little look. You can see it, but it's virtually gone. That'll when we do the last little bit, and you can see underneath how nice that is with no nasty welds. I think that's going to look nice. Just the little touches I find that just finish a job off. Well, it takes a little bit longer, but even if the customer doesn't appreciate it, I know it's there or not there. Right, one more. Lovely job. Right, the last bit, I've got hook and loop 180 grit, I think it's 180 or 220, something like that, on my grinder, which I've had to turn right down because they don't like running fast, these things. Turn the speed down to about, I don't know, 6,000, something like that, from 11. I'm just going to go over all the particularly the joins and the welds with that, and then finish it off with Scotch-Brite on my die grinder. Again, I've had to turn that right down because they're only supposed to run at 8,000, these Scotch-Brites, and the grinder runs at something like 20,000. So luckily it's adjustable. And then we just go over with that, and it just gives a nice sort of matte finish. Takes out most of those little marks. Lovely. So just do the rest of it with that. And then we're going to be ready for taking it to the powder coaters. So there we go, a very simple handrail but functional. Nothing too fancy. It's not going to stand out too much in the room. So I shall load her up, take her down the powder coaters, and it's going to be a very pale grey to match the, or complement the decoration in the house. Thanks for watching.